It would have been a critical piece of evidence to introduce.
A brand new document brought forward after the launch of KSL's new investigative true crime podcast, Cold, is adding new questions to the Susan Powell case.
Questions like, was Josh Powell somehow injured during the time of her disappearance?
Yeah, Dave Colley back with us tonight with the newest bombshell from his investigation. What did you find out?
Well, it's this insurance document we obtained exclusively through our investigation. It's called an independent medical examination report showing Josh Powell was diagnosed with a shoulder injury just days after Susan disappeared.
Bangor Highway, September 2nd, 2009. A minor fender bender dented the Powell family van. Following the crash, Josh Powell complained of neck and back pain. He saw a chiropractor for months, took muscle relaxers, but never once did he complain of shoulder pain until December 17th, more than 3 months after the crash and just 10 days after his wife Susan went missing. Josh sought treatment at Meyer & Marsh Professional Therapies in West Valley City, where he was diagnosed with a rotator cuff strain and possible partial rotator cuff tear. A shoulder injury certainly not consistent with a minor rear-end crash.
It's really unlikely this kind of car accident causes a rotator cuff injury, basically.
Dr. Peter Chalmers is an orthopedic surgeon at the University of Utah, an expert on rotator cuff injuries.
Probably the most common cause is degeneration with age. So the most common age groups we see those in are in older individuals in 50s, 60s, 70s. But you can also see it in younger individuals with major traumas. And by major traumas, I usually mean, you know, like I crashed my helicopter or I fell off of a cornice skiing.
Josh didn't fly helicopters or go skiing. He didn't do much of anything physical. So that raises the question, could the shoulder injury have come during a fight with Susan, or perhaps by attempting to move her body?
We love and miss Susan.
A rotator cuff injury would have made life very difficult for Josh. KSL's cameras did capture Josh holding one of his boys on December 12th, but only with one arm, and we don't know which shoulder was injured. Josh also left the boys with his brother and sister for days at a time. And when he moved out of his West Valley home in January of 2010, he had neighbors do the heavy lifting.
We would have obviously got his medical records.
Retired Detective Ellis Maxwell, West Valley's lead investigator on the case, was surprised when I told him about my discovery.
It would have been a critical piece of evidence to introduce.
But he questions whether or not knowing any of this 9 years ago would have shifted the case.
I don't believe that it would have changed the outcome on whether if we would have been able to get charges filed through the district attorney's office, because there was just way too many other avenues for defense to go, too many questions at that point of the investigations.
Josh's visit to the physical therapist was billed through his auto insurance as part of the claim from the crash. That raised a red flag for the insurance company, leading to this document, the independent medical examination. But it never found its way into the hands of police.
Is there a chance he could have been misdiagnosed?
Yeah, there is. The expert that we asked about this case said it is possible that a pinched nerve in the neck could lead to some of those similar symptoms from a rotator cuff strain. There's no way of knowing without getting our hands on the full documents, which don't exist anymore.
Yeah, interesting. All right, you still got more, don't you?
Yeah, we do. In fact, episode 6 of the podcast, you're going to learn about the prescription Josh was given after he was rear-ended and how some people believe that may have played a role in Susan's disappearance.
All right, great work, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks.